Hello, everyone, and welcome to 11-Foot Pole, a tale of high adventure. My name is Glenn, and I am not your referee for this session. I am, in fact, the Dungeon Master for this session, as we are putting our Dolmenwood campaign briefly on hold. The Kickstarter has closed on Dolmenwood as we are recording this, and I know at one point recently they were at 666% of their goal. I don't know if they ended there. That would have been awesome. But in any case, we're putting Dolmenwood on hold for just a little while, and we're going to be running a Dark Sun campaign in the meantime. So I will be your DM for this session, and joining me around the table is my regular band of malcontents. Hello there, friends. It's me, Glenn, from 11-Foot Pole, the program you're currently listening to. The remainder of this episode is going to be edited up a little bit weird because when we started recording, I didn't turn on anyone's mic except my own. So you won't get to hear the backstories that the characters came up with or the content that we came up with for the tribe that they belong to. Sorry about that. You'll have to kind of pick it up as the episodes go along. But let's hear what did get recorded from this week's episode. There you go. All right, so there's a YouTube channel called PhD&D, and Dr. Bowers has an excellent YouTube channel there. And sometime last year or the year before, he published this idea he called Rime of the Dark Sun. And it's a whole series of videos. They'll be linked in the description. And his idea was to do a whole Dark Sun campaign basically by reskinning Rime of the Frost Maiden, okay? So his whole mentality was, we're not going to rewrite a whole bunch of stuff. We're not going to rewrite all the classes and create a custom Scion class and everything else. We're going to reskin as much as possible. Use the stats from basic D&D, use the stats from Rime of the Frost Maiden, but change the appearance of things, to be Dark Sun. So that's why I'm saying JP's character is a Scion. She's using psychic powers. But the rules underneath that, oh yes, very nice. The rules underneath that are actually just going to be that she's a sorcerer. But she's not casting spells. She's actually using psychic powers. So, come with us to the burning world of Athas. The Dark Sun campaign setting is basically was inspired by Mad Max and the idea of post-apocalyptic role-playing. And TSR published it back in the day. Wizards doesn't have the chutzpah to publish it nowadays because slavery is one of the common themes throughout the Dark Sun campaign setting. So basically, all of you guys would know that the legends of the world of Athas is that there was this time called the Green Age, right? Which is basically when Athas was like the Forgotten Realms, more or less. But these sorcerers discovered this kind of magic called defiling magic, where they could empower their spells to much higher levels by draining the life and vitality and fertility out of the land around them. So these sorcerer kings started doing that, and basically through their wars with one another, it led to runaway desertification of the entire planet. So there are all these ruins, there are all these places on Athas where you can see there used to be rivers, there used to be oceans, there used to be cities that had docks, sticking out into the ocean, and now it's all just sand. It's all blasted rock. And, this was, of course, thousands of years ago, right? So the boats and everything have all rotted away. And it's basically like this huge Bronze Age desert region, which is as you can see, I've made custom terrain to go with the, oh my gosh. I've made custom terrain to go with this setting. So what's true on Athas is, first of all, there's very little metal. It's a very, very metal poor planet. Iron is incredibly valuable, and the few iron weapons that are out there are greatly prized. You guys, on the other hand, are going to be mostly using bone weapons, flint spears, obsidian axes, and stuff like that. And of course, the planet is very, very water poor. The planet is very, very water poor, right? So you guys are in a region known as the Tablelands. And specifically, I'm going to send you guys a map at some point. There is a region to the west, on the western edge of the Tableland, there's this row of mountains, the Ringing Mountains, okay? And, man, up there, Jason, you're killing me, man. Up there in the Ringing Mountains, there's actually supposedly, water and almost like rainforests up there. But as dangerous and savage as the creatures of Athas are, of the Tablelands are, man, when you get up into those mountains, it's 50 times worse. These things are all way over leveled and, TPK you in just a couple rounds. And also, worst of all, it's rumored that this area is infested with cannibalistic halfling tribes. So your friend Fulgrin is an outcast from these savage, man-eating, sentient-eating halflings, right? That are known and feared all across Athas for their ambushes and traps and putting people in stew pots and eating them. So there are about 5 major city-states in the Tablelands, okay? And each one of them is ruled over by a despotic sorcerer king. One of these defiler kings controls each different city-state. And all the people there live under the violent oppression of the sorcerer kings, okay? And outside of the big city-states are what are called slave tribes, which is a stupid name that they gave them back in 2nd edition, because you're not slaves anymore. You're like former slaves, right? Or the descendants of former slaves, okay? So there's this little area called the 10 Towns. And, not bad. All right. So these are the Tablelands that I'm talking about. These are the Ringing Mountains that the feral halflings live in. And Uruk and Ram and Gulg are all examples of these city-states, right? Up here in this sort of hilly region north of Tyr, there are 10 little independent settlements, right? Slave tribes. But actually, you're free tribes, right? And each little village, each little settlement has its own sort of, it's built around this little oasis, and they have their own sort of something that they farm or hunt for or gather that they are then able to trade with the other little towns to kind of create this network of livability, right? Where you guys are able to trade back and forth and sort of subsist, right? And then very occasionally, somebody will make a caravan trip down to Tyr, right? Which is the nearest big, bad city-state, okay? Here's the thing. So Kalak, the Sorcerer King, like it's actually obviously when a caravan from the 10 towns comes into Tyr, I mean, he could just enslave those people, right? But then he wouldn't continue to get the products from the 10 towns. And it's definitely not worth it to him to like go out and conquer these little settlements and try to take them over, right? So it's actually in the best interest of the Sorcerer King to kind of just trade with you guys. And as long as like none of the people you send have like a slave brand on them where they've obviously just escaped in the last year, generally you can go to Tyr, kind of keep your head down, go in, make your trades, and get out. Okay. So there are rules for like dehydration and how much, you need 2 gallons of water and like a pound of food a day. It's in the little document that I sent you for our viewers. So, there are several different conversions of Dark Sun to 5e fan-made things that are floating around out there. I basically took a couple that I found online and stitched them together into what we're going to do. Again, with the mindset being we're doing the minimum of actual rules changes. We're mostly reskinning. But to answer your question from a story standpoint, Corey, it's assumed when you're traveling with your caravan, it's assumed that you guys have enough food and water, like for yourselves and for your animals, right? To get to where, like you guys have gone through these paths a bunch of times. You know how long it takes to get to the next little town or to Tyr, and you're going to have enough food and water for that, unless something happens where you get attacked and your water skin thing gets ruptured, and now you've got to try to find water or die. But generally, it's assumed that you guys are carrying enough food and water with you, if nothing goes wrong, to complete your trip. Does that make sense? One more thing about the world, and then we're going to get into the specifics about your tribe. When they released Dark Sun, this guy, I can't think of his name, he wrote 5 Dark Sun novels that became like the core storyline of the Dark Sun world. Okay? It's called the Prism Pentad. And in the first book of the Prism Pentad, the hero of the story, who is a mole gladiator, yay for the moles, and his love interest and his other love interest and this noble who's like good to his slaves and all that stuff, they all come together and they basically kill Kalak, K-A-L-A-K, Kalak. They kill him at the end of that first novel, right? And Tyr actually becomes a free city. They free the slaves, they free the gladiators, and that is what has just happened in the past like 2 months in our setting. Okay, so word has reached you guys that Kalak is dead, has been slain by this gladiator hero, and that the people of Tyr are actually free. They're not under the boot of a sorcerer king anymore. Now the sorcerer kings are served by a group of warrior priests called Templars. Okay, and we're basically going to be using the 5e rules for warlocks for them, where the sorcerer king is their patron, right? So Kalak's Templars kind of kept order in the city and enforced his despotic rule. And what you've heard is like one of the High Templars was basically involved in the overthrow of Kalak. And now he's sort of become like the king of the city, but he's not a defiler. And he is trying to like implement social reforms and all the rest of this kind of stuff, right? So there's a lot of power struggles going on in the city of Tyr. And there's a lot of uncertainty about what the future of the city is. But there's definitely been a big change recently. Okay? All right. So now, you guys are all part of the same tribe. Okay? You guys have got this. There was kind of a fort built into this sort of rocky outcropping, right? From centuries ago, right? There was this fort of the Mad Wayne's fort here, that had fallen into disuse and everything else. And your tribe, a couple generations ago, discovered this place, right? So this is where you guys live and where your tribe lives. And you guys specifically are kind of a band of sort of caravan guards who travel with the caravan when you go to trade with the other 10 towns or when you guys go to trade with Tyr, right? You protect it from all the savage wasteland beetles and savage wasteland lizards and raiders and everything else that are dangers in the great alluvial wastes. We need to do a little bit of world building here together. I guess we're going to try to go with Fort Wayne as the name of the settlement. But we also need a name for your tribe at some point. The Iron Sun tribe, right? Ironically, should probably be called the Iron Daughters because it's a more or less patriarchal society out there in this remote, ruined fort. Okay, yeah. So the leaders call themselves the Iron Daughters, even though iron is very rare on this planet. That's why, right? That's why they call themselves that. And the Council of Elders is this flinty, hard-bitten group of desert women. And the leader, if you saw Fury Road, the old lady who was kind of the leader of the women that they finally met out in the desert, you know, the lady I'm talking about, Persephone, some call her Persephone, is sort of the tribal elder, right? And she actually went on this sort of vision quest and stared at the sun so long she lost her eyesight, and she has the bandage over her eyes now. But she's gained deeper insights from doing that. She's the leader of your group. Now the Iron Sun. So there is some water here in this mountain fastness, right? There's a little spring or well in the very back of one of the rooms. But there's another resource that grows there that you guys are able to trade with your nearby neighbors and stay alive. So is that hellwasp honey or is it spine apples? In the sort of ravines and sort of cracks in the shaded sort of clefts of the rock up on this rock face where you guys are, wild spine apples grow. By the way, and I already told the gang this, but our listeners, I basically said we're reskinning all of their classes. So instead of a ranger, you're a wasteland ranger, or instead of a barbarian, you're a savage barbarian of the wastes. The other thing we reskin is instead of finding dates, you find thistle dates, or instead of finding wheat, you find thorn wheat or hell wheat or barb wheat. You just have to add something to make it a little more metal, and it's dark sun. See how easy that is? So you guys harvest your gatherers, right? There are two occupations in the tribe: hunter or gatherer. Your gatherers go up into these rocky clefts and come back with spine apples, and you make spine apple cider, and spine apple. What do you call it? Spine apple sauce. Yeah. The spine apple upside down cake is to die for. But that's only like for special occasions, right? You gotta grind up a bunch of dried maggots to make the flour. So anyway, so this is how you guys survive. So as far as your characters go, you guys are on your way. You guys are on your way to the town of Tourmaline. Okay. All right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna end our broadcast here. If you're interested in seeing where we go with this old school Dark Sun campaign, well, you know what to do. Subscribe to our channel. Subscribe to 11 Foot Pole. Give us a like. Share us on social media and stuff like that. And join us next week for more high adventure.